Okay, so we're doing a confidence interval for a population mean, standard deviation unknown. And I want you guys to assume that you're not told that, because I want you to be able to read these word problems and identify that situation regardless of whether it's told to you. So we're going to assume that's not told to us. We're going to basically read the problem and determine that we want a confidence interval, determine that it's for a mean, and determine that the standard deviation for the population is unknown. And based on the fact that the standard deviation for the population is unknown, that's going to tell us that we're going to go onto a student t distribution versus the z. So let's read it. A lot of word problems you want to read at least 2 to 3 times, okay? One, the first time to get an idea of what's there. Second time to pull information out. Third time to verify the information that you're pulling out. So suppose the number of calories eaten by adults in a single day are normally distributed. I'm going to, underline things that are important. The population mean and standard deviation are unknown. That's important. A random sample of, so I like that. I'm going to write that down. A random sample is n of 24 adults. N is 24. Provides a mean intake of. So you see how this sample of 24 adults is giving us this mean? That's a sample mean. That's X bar. And the mean of that sample is 1,980 calories. And a standard deviation of 220 calories. So if you notice that this standard deviation that they're talking about comes from this sample of 24 adults, that is a sample standard deviation S. Now it's important for me to identify that as S versus sigma, because you remember there's like 2 of everything. You have a population mean, a sample mean. You have a population standard deviation, a sample standard deviation. Some of you may go, well, why did they tell us the standard deviation is unknown and then tell me about the standard deviation here? Because the standard deviation that is unknown is what we call sigma, and that's the population standard deviation, okay? The population standard deviation is unknown. And that's important to know, because even though they gave us a sample standard deviation, we're determining that we're going to go T, student T distribution, because sigma is unknown. Now, use a calculator to find a 90% confidence interval, that's our confidence level, to estimate for the population mean. So I want an interval for the mean. So I'm going to write that here. I'll put it in interval notation, and I'll put it in inequality form. And it tells us to use the student t interval, but imagine that we're not told to use the student t distribution. We know that we have to use t interval because we want a confidence interval, and because it's for a mean, and sigma is unknown, okay? So yeah, they gave me standard deviation, but the standard deviation they gave me is from the sample. So let's read it one more time. Suppose the number of calories that are eaten by adults in a single day are normally distributed. The population mean and standard deviation are unknown. Sigma is unknown. And we're going to find an interval for the population mean. A random sample of 24 adults provides a mean intake, the mean from the sample, X bar, of 1,980 calories, and a standard deviation from the sample, S, of 220. Use a calculator to find the 90% confidence interval estimate, that's our confidence level, for the population mean. So we're going to use our graphing calculator. Even if it didn't tell us to use it, I'm going to use it because that's the best way that we have in this course. So to find that, you guys are going to go to Stat and over to Tests. You want T interval, so you need to scroll down to T interval. You want stats highlighted because we have the statistical values given. X bar was given as 1,980. SX is your sample standard deviation, that was 220. Your N is your sample size, 24. And then your C level, confidence level is 90%, so 0.90. We scroll down to calculate, and this is our confidence interval. On the low end, I'm going to give myself a little bit more space here for my interval. On the low end, we have 1,000 903, and on the higher end, 2,057. Now this is tri-inequality form. Interval notation is what's given from our calculator, 1903 to 2057. So what that says is that for this population, the number of calories eaten by adults in a single day, on average, for the population is between 1,903 and 2,057 calories. We are 90% confident in that interval.